And today, we like to honor a living legend, Reverend Joseph Williams, affectionately known as Reverend Joe. He is the last surviving member of the iconic Dixie Hummingbirds. And from a young boy singing in a church, to a Marine, to a gospel ambassador across America and the world, to a pillar of faith over a half a century of just giving, giving, giving. But you know, he could not have done this by himself.
No.
Mama Laverne, as she's affectionately known, is the First Lady of Mount Airy United Fellowship Church and has been the main attraction on his side and in his life. And you'll have an opportunity to hear from her as well. We're going to celebrate a man who is used to getting awards, most especially in probably the last 25 years of your life.
Amen. Amen.
And it would be from the city of Philadelphia, who commemorated you, the state of Pennsylvania, who commemorated you as a member of the Dixie Hummingbirds, the Charles Blockson Museum just recently. That was just recently, a couple of weeks ago. He is also, the Dixie Hummingbirds, and Reverend Joe is a part of, is also a member of the Grammy Award-winning 1973-1974 Dixie Hummingbirds Grammy Award-winning for the best soul gospel performance, and was awarded to the Dixie Hummingbirds for the song "She Loves Me Like a Rock."
Yeah.
The Grammy and other Dixie Hummingbird artifacts are housed in the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. The National Museum of African American Music also celebrated Reverend Joe, and that's in Nashville, Tennessee. In fact, you'll see his suit that is in that museum, and I hope you do get a chance to go there this year to go see.
Yes.
So you won't want to miss the living legend. You don't want to miss his trials, his tribulations, his triumphs, and his tales and trade secrets. So without further ado, Reverend Joe, please share with us, where did this love for music come from? And we can go back to, I think you and I talked, that it's something as long ago as when you were 5 years old.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Tell us about what happened when you were 5 years old. How did you get into this?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank God for this opportunity, because you bring out things I forgot. But when I was 5, elementary school, my next door neighbor must have saw something in me that I didn't see. Joey, after school, you come into my home to take music lessons. And I told my mother, I said, why can't I go out and play like other kids? I'm only 5 or 6. She said, no, one of these days you're going to the White House. You're going to be famous one day. Well, to God's ears, to her voice, to God's ears. Yeah. But it really happened. My next door neighbor saw that in me. Wow. And I started traveling with the Children's Church of the Air. And I was a soloist. Hands in front of you, you couldn't move. I was the only black with them.
Oh, really?
So I said, but it never, I would tell your husband a few minutes ago, I never had an inferiority complex because I was always around white people. At 5 and 6 years old, all I knew. Matter of fact, they would come get me on a Friday night, take me up to Darby. I spent the whole weekend and they bring me back early, it was Sunday night, Sunday night, it's time for school. Because we would go to 2 or 3 Presbyterian churches on a Sunday. But I was always the only black. They never fazed me with this only black stuff. Wow. But after I got grown, I said, well, I never was scared because I was always around them. And I always felt I was better than everybody else.
Anyway.
And then what happened, society makes you feel you're inferior. It's just the opposite with me. And I would say this, little kids, 5, 6 years old, can get away with murder anyhow.
And you just told us why you chose to enlist.
Well,
and
the true story, I tell you, maybe my wife, somebody would get mad with this. I lived in an abusive home.
Okay.
So my wife's getting beat. I said, now, in my
Wow.
own way of thinking, if I don't leave, somebody going, I'm either going to kill somebody or something they're going to kill me or something.
Wow.
Because you can't stay. I'm telling you, no men, young men, always, to see their mother get beat up, that's probably the worst thing
Yes.
in the world.
Yes. Yes.
And I said, well, I said, best way for me to do is run away from home is join the Marine Corps.
Right. Right. Right.
Now, the funny part about it, I had no idea going to the Marine Corps, but I lived on a little small street. The street parallel to my street, the Marine Corps came looking for a recruit that didn't show up for something. But
Okay.
it came into my street by mistake. The streets are parallel. And I said, no, Charles Darling lived in the next street over. I said, well, I love that uniform. Matter of fact, that's really the reason I doing that thing. I'm a spitting polish, I was all of that. And I
Okay.
wanted to look, So the next day, I went down to the recruiting station, which was at Rural Erie at the time. How do you sign up for this stuff? But I'm saying that my main purpose is to get away from home.
Okay.
I
All right.
couldn't take that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be the
And I'm
emphasis for a lot
wondering
of children.
if it should be a chapter in everybody's book that came through all that stuff. Because I think most black men may have experienced the same thing.
They may have. Now, in retrospect, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you may have wished that you had a better relationship with your father.
No good, yeah. Now,
That would've-
the funny part about it, towards the end, he was a trustee at our church.
Really? Okay.
And turned to the church about for 50 years. What happened was toward the end, I since became a deacon,
Oh, wow.
and I got a pleasure out of buying clothes and dressing them up, because that was all
Wow.
new to me, doing
Wow.
something for my
Isn't
father.
that amazing? Wow.
And trying to help my father out, because for me, he never needed money from not me, as a kid. But all that changed after I got out of service and got married and all that.
Did he change too?
I wanted
Huh?
to.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing on a Sunday, see how nice he looked.
Wow.
He be smiling.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, tell us about the Dixie Hummingbirds. When did that happen? At what point in your life did you meet
All
up
right.
with the Dixie Hummingbirds?
1953, I'm in junior high school now. And I'm singing rock and roll in the junior high school. I just did, to get those girls, you could sing on the stage and rock and roll. Singing in the subway, white people thought you could really sing, because in the subway, the acoustics is perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the time, but what happened was, one of the fellows that went to school with us, he said, well, would you like to join my group? Now, he's talking about a gospel group. I had never sang gospel, because my music teacher said, Joey, I don't want you ruining your voice singing that gospel stuff and all that loud. But I was a soloist. And she was really top-notch toasty type. Oh, yeah, proper. You couldn't walk in the street and eat food and none of that stuff.
Wow.
She was a member of Zion, which all of the people was up to, was almost acting the same way.
I wonder how many other
So she
people
did.
actually heard that before, that if you sing gospel music that you would ruin your voice.
Yeah, she said, and stand still to sing, you couldn't move. Like the Wings of Jordan, when they would do a concert, you couldn't even, if a fly came, you got to.
Oh, no, really?
But you got to be dignified. Couldn't even walking down the street and that stuff. So she said, Joey, I don't want you singing that rock and roll stuff. But meanwhile, one of the fellows said, you ought to try to sing on my group. I got a gospel group. I said, I don't know anything about gospel singing, because the only kind of church stuff I knew was church song and that solo, white solo. But that was all white group.
Oh, yeah.
And the music was absolutely different than I've been used to, So the group that he'd asked me to try to help out, join, they were singing gospel. And I said, I don't want to be singing. I don't feel none of this stuff. I'm a rock and roll singer, moving, want to dance.
Right.
Well, I had trouble getting that dancing stuff down, because I tried out with the blue notes. I couldn't get that dance.
Couldn't keep, what, was it?
I'm down the Met one night, with all the gospel singing headquarters, I guess you would say headquarters.
Right.
And I heard somebody say, you look just like your father. Was talking to a young guy. Now I'm 14 years old, and the young guy he was talking to was 14. So I always had a little nerve. I walked up to him and said, man, who's your father? He said, well, my father was the manager, the owner of the Dixie Hummingbirds. I said, would you like to sing in the group I'm in now? Well, we're trying to get a group together. So you'd have to ask my father, if you're nice boys, he might let you sing with you guys. So I went to Mr. Davis. I said, Mr. Davis, we have a group. Could your son sing with us? He said, I got to see if you're nice boys first. I said, well, can your son sing? He said, I don't know. I hear him around the house hollering all the time. I don't know if he can sing or not. That's what he said to me. But I think the next time we saw each other, he said, I'll check you out. You're nice boys, he can sing with you. That's how that whole thing started.
Wow.
Now I knew nothing about quartet gospel singing, but I knew that doo-wop stuff.
Yeah.
Same, you know.
Very popular during your
Yeah.
era of doo-wop.
So the guy who asked me would I like to sing with them, father happened to be bass singer for the Dixie Hummingbirds. And that's two guys, you know.
Wow.
I said, my God, you know, your father was the Dixie Hummingbirds. Oh yeah. They're very strict though. See, when Mr. Davis turned the corner, we said the Cadillac turned that corner and said, Mr. Davis is coming. He was like the Lord was coming, you know.
Right.
So we love the Soul Stirrers. Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers.
Yes,
He just got
yeah.
with them. So that's what we was trying to sing like. So when one of the fellows enlisted in the Marine Corps, another one enlisted. I'm trying to get away from home anyhow. I'm out to go to the Marine Corps. And that's what I did. So when it wound up, it was 5 of us singing that had been in the Marine Corps. One by one, we started getting out.
Huh.
So the group we were in, they got other guys to replace us. And I told Bo, I said, hey, Bo, man, they replaced us. We got to
Start your own
maybe
thing.
start another group, yeah, because they don't need us. So that's what we started doing. I went and asked another guy by the name of Bright. I said, hey, Bright, would you want to sing with us? I've been recruiting guys all the time. Now, when I was in the Marine Corps, I did the same thing. I had a quartet when I was in the Marine Corps.
I was going to ask you that. You did get to sing in the Marine Corps. Okay.
Glee Cup.
Okay.
But we also started singing.
What's it called? What was that group called?
You know, I don't think we had a name.
Okay. All right.
But that's funny we say because all of us were singing in the Marine Corps choir.
Okay.
So, and well, they were halfway good-looking guys. So when we got out, I started trying to find those guys after they got out so we could start this group. Because the other group, they wanted us, they didn't need us, you know. Now I do know the name of the group. So we said, that's a good name for right here, it's good. Christian is, that's a good name. We were just fooling with these names. Louise Williams, a disc jockey.
Yes.
She knew about all these sons for real that was in the group. She said, they're the sons of the Dixie Hummingbirds. So I asked Mr. Davis, I said, Mr. Davis, can we be on the program with y'all? He said, can you sing? I said, yeah, I think we sing pretty good, Mr. Davis. Said, you must think you can sing because you're going to be on the program with us. Now, when he said it took my heart, the lead singer's heart, that night we was on the program with him, the lead singer started singing and nothing came out. Because he was got scared. Mr. Davis had a way of, I guess, scared. That was his discipline.
Wow.
I guess your group must be think they're going to be, you with us, you can't sing with us, you know. So anyhow, we started working out pretty good. Just showing up at programs.
Okay. Your introduction into the main group, how old were you when that happened?
20.
You're in,
I got
really?
married at 21.
Right, okay.
I just got, I don't think I'd been married that long when we were
And you had just gotten married. Are you on the road now? Are you
Not yet.
traveling with them?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
We, my wife and I were engaged for 2 years.
Okay.
So that means I came out of the Marine Corps, I was 19, got engaged, and got married at 20, yeah. So I wanted to sing so bad, so I wrote Mr. Davis a letter. I said, Mr. Davis, would you mind taking us with you on the road? So, as I said, Louise Webbs had started that father and son stuff. So they told her, that's good enough to give me, to draw some people, so you could come with us now. None of us had jobs. I just come out the Marine Corps, just come out of high school. So we would rap to go anywhere to go. We were fascinated with this traveling stuff. Mr. Davis said, now all rules got to be your rules. When I tell you what time we're leaving, that's the time we're leaving. What we're going to wear, and everything, you know. So even to the point we brought a group car, and I remember the seat was torn. He said, you got to get the seat sewed up because it's a reflection on the Dixie Hummingbirds. You know.
Wow.
He was just a real strip. So that went on. It worked out good at first because people would say, oh man, those really guys couldn't really sing well. They thought we were putting them on, you know.
Yeah.
Until
Travels that you had with the Dixie Hummingbirds. And a conversation some time ago, I remember a story you were talking about the fact that, and I'll bring that up later on, about the green card.
Yeah.
Now, for those who don't understand what that green card is, that was pivotal if you were going to be on the road.
Yeah.
It told you what restaurants you would be
Yeah,
welcome at, the
yeah.
hotels, rooms if you needed a room, if you needed to get washed or bathed. And someone that we share friendship with, she actually has the book that belonged to her mother and father because they were in music.
I saw one of those books.
Yeah.
I think what happened was we were blessed enough to be with the Dixie Hummingbirds, so we never was starving and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the program, it was honor for a purpose. They had me come to the house for dinner. I want your boys for dinner.
Oh, really?
Well,
Okay.
what hotel y'all stay? It wasn't funny. I'll give you another funny story. So one night when I was talking with my group. So I said, okay, it's intermission time. Anybody want to ask us any questions or anything like that? The old lady stood up and said, yeah, what hotel y'all staying in? And people screamed. And the old lady, where y'all staying at? But we never had a problem because sometimes the hotel would say, okay, you got to pay in advance. I said, miss, we don't have any money, but we're going to sing tonight. If you let us sing tonight, we'll have the money. All right, boys, check out it. That happened 1 million times to us.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, where did you find that more in the South, or did you find that also up
South.
north? Mostly in the South.
That's where they really stayed a lot.
Yeah.
From Washington on down, they were popular. From Washington this way, it's choirs.
Okay.
Down that way.
But heading south of D.C.
Yeah.
And that's when did you realize that there were certain gas stations you couldn't go to?
No,
nothing like that.
I think it paid off by being so innocent.
Right.
We'd go places you ain't supposed to go.
Okay.
Go to a gas station to cut the lights out. The owner's wife would come out and say, all right, boys, what y'all want? I said, we need some gas. We're out of gas. Tell the husband, all right, get the boys some gas. That must have happened to us 1 million times.
Wow.
The wife would always be the one that said, just have a soft heart.
Right.
Don't let these boys run out of gas. Give them gas.
Right.
So, but meanwhile, we didn't know our lives could have been in danger. We're in the South, they're mad.
One of your quotes says, know what kind of weather you're flying in. And you were at a time, I would think, at the time that you were in, a member of the Dixie Hummingbirds, that social unrest was on the, it was the beginning of social unrest at that time. So you're saying you're going south of Washington, D.C., and I'm getting a little angst, worried about you all being on the road, as I would think that Miss Laverne probably would have felt the same way. It's like, if you're going to be going south, I need to know where you were. You didn't have cell phones.
My mother even said, Now, you junior, you're going south. Different. You can't do the same thing you do here. But it never went one day and not the other.
Well, you're young too, right?
Get in touch with Georgia with all the people at the Uptown. The rock and roll shows would come there.
Sure.
We wanted to sing there one time. But I said, who's your booking agent? How y'all guys get all these dates and all? He said, you got to call Irv Naham, and this was my name. You talk to him and you book it. Because I said, the ward singers singing in Las Vegas, we can sing in Las Vegas too.
Right.
So when Irv talked to me, he said, I tell you, I have to level with you. Those club owners wouldn't want you young black guys around their wives. That was in that one. Because he said, if you were females, I'd book you. If you were females, I'd book you.
Wow.
If you were male, I said, no, nobody wants you around. The club owners wouldn't. And we didn't realize that we kept not getting dates anywhere like those female singers would get.
Okay.
And that's what it amounted to.
Wow.
That's what, yeah.
That's crazy. So if that happened with gospel music, I can
Oh,
only
Jesus.
imagine, I mean, regular rock and roll or R&B,
Yeah.
that they had trouble getting gigs too.
Well,
So-
Jackie Wilson, what Little Richard said, he had to act like he was gay to save his life.
Yeah,
So he said that if he acted gay, the white women and the white men would be afraid of him, saying, this guy's gay.
yes.
Same
Yes.
with Johnny Mathis, same way. Same
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
See? But you're harmless.
Right, but you're not a threat.
No threat.
You're not a
No.
threat too. Yeah. That's crazy. That is so crazy. There's another story that you told a couple of years ago, and you're talking about how you had lost your way. We didn't have GPS, had a map, maybe, but you're trying to get to a performance that was going to be held at
Oh, yeah.
a high school, maybe?
High school in Alabama.
Yes, in Alabama, of all places.
And, so, as I said before, I was the one that did all the talking, and we stopped for direction. I could always tell them who they were talking about, white person or white. So I told the fellows, I said, pull over the two motorcycle cops. I'll ask them. I said, we look. And when I got out the car, I said, excuse me, sir, were you in the Marine Corps? The guy said, no. I said, you squared over? You look square? I said, we're lost. We're looking for the high school in Alabama. We're singers. We need to sing. Get back in your car. Then I knew then. I said, oh.
Yes.
That's why they didn't want to talk to us. They make kill everybody in the car. When we got back in the car, the two motorcycle cops said, follow us. About, I guess, 20 minutes later, they pulled into the high school we were supposed to be singing.
Well.
So now the Dixie Hummingbirds was, I wrote the Sons then. But the Dixie Hummingbirds had been there because they always stayed. The rules were an hour before concert time. Okay, but you got your clothes on. You couldn't walk around. Once you put your uniform on, you couldn't walk around and the people see you. What that meant. So I said, oh my goodness, Mr. Bo, what's wrong with y'all? He said, Joe, if we hadn't seen that with our own eyes, do you know you were in Alabama? He said, nobody would convince us to believe what we just saw. Those motorcycles, the highway patrol brought y'all to the school. So I didn't think it was too much of that until that night at the concert. When I got on the stage, I said, oh yeah, by the way, give the state troopers a hand. They brought us to the, nobody clapped.
Wow.
Because Mr. Bo told me, said, Joe, you understand, they killed Negroes down here. Matter of fact, when we was in Pensacola, Florida, the highway patrol had a contest, kill a nigger contest. They was a flyer, all of and that's it was that serious. We never knew how serious that was. It's funny he was saying it because, as I said, I was the one that did most, after I even got with the Dixie Hummingbirds. Mr. Tucker and I would do all the interviews. I mean, on the road, somebody's going to go to the radio station and do an interview. We're in town, to program tonight, you know, it would always be the two of us doing that.
Right.
All right, Joe, we're going to park. You go up there and say hello to the disc jockey, tell her we're in town. So I got out the car, talk with the disc jockey. And by this time, I never felt inferior about talking to them and something's going to happen. I never had that fear.
Okay.
The next day, they found a guy. We were in Pensacola, Florida, so Mobile is really close.
Right.
Found a guy dead. So they said, "But Joe, we trying to tell you, you in the South, these guys they don't want you around their wives. They don't want to see you at all."
Right.
We were young guys, but something about that they don't. And dressed up too, because
It didn't matter.
we could never go to the radio station. We had to be dressed, had to see
Sure.
suits and all,
Sure.
So to this day, I still don't have that fear. But I guess it's a gang of white folks still want to kill you, and especially a man.
Right.
And if their wives say too much, even when I was with Pepsi Cola, some of the wives of the owners' wives would be so friendly.
Wow. Wow.
Matter of fact, when I got fired, I told the manager of the plant, there are people used to leave notes on my seat of my truck. A black Pepsi Cola man. Oh my God. Oh Jesus, a black. Just
So you've actually experienced what's very prevalent even now, the racism of this country.
Amen.
That you served as a Marine.
Yeah.
And that you performed in front of
Yeah.
as a gospel singer. And now, years later, how does it make you feel that you still see some of the same types of things that you experienced still happening?
Well, I'm surprised that people don't understand about what you just said. And we got a lot of black folks don't believe that, don't want to be black. These white folks don't play that. And when I got my job with Pepsi Cola, it was a corporate type job.
Since we're there, let's stay there.
We had a
Pensacola.
I was at a corporate meeting. I think I was the third black with them on the corporate level at Park Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Brown, Frank Washington played with the Harlem Globetrotters. It was four of us. I was the fourth one.
Okay.
But I guess it was hired athletes with a name recognition.
Right.
But there's a book out about that. Special marks, they call it. But they're trying to convince black people they should buy
Pepsi Cola. Good. It's a marketing
So I
toy.
remember that one morning we had a staff meeting, and okay, Joe, give us some of your ideas what we should do to infiltrate the black market. And the special market consists of black market and Spanish.
Right.
So I stood up to get ready to talk. I said, well, how you want me to talk? I was driving that, well, I should try to give the thing in Spanish with the Puerto Rican guys to do it. I should do it. And one of the white guys said, no, I'm talking nigger talk. Yeah. And, I mean, the place got silent. He said that.
Yeah.
They had no trouble doing it. If a guy in his heart felt that way, had no trouble doing it.
Right. So, did you start as a factory worker at Pepsi Cola?
A truck driver.
You were a truck driver, okay.
Well, they call it route sales.
Route sales, okay.
Yeah.
So you had route sales at Pepsi Cola. Was that during a time, that had to be what, early 60s?
Yeah, 60. You got it.
Early 60s,
It
because
was 60.
was that during a time where boycotts were prevalent?
Well, that's how I got my job.
Okay. All right. So
They said,
your
if you
job
don't
is the
hire
result
black guys,
of
you gonna
a
take some
boycott.
Pepsi. It was Pepsi Cola, Tasty Cake, Coca Cola, and one other company. It was four companies. Oh, Trailway Bus Company.
Oh, Trailways. Okay. All
They
right.
were boycotting. Cesar Moore said, if you don't hire them, you won't be able to operate in Philadelphia anymore.
Okay.
We'll call it a boycott. So when they I went to Pepsi Cola, the president of Pepsi Cola got on the phone and said, who is this guy Cesar Moore? Now, I'm in New York. I went up there looking for that job. And somebody called him back and said, you better listen to him, he's pretty powerful. So I had just lost my job here in Philadelphia as a route salesman. When I got to New York, I became an account executive with no such thing as driving a truck. I was a market research and development, I'd have to be in one of those categories, which I was in market research and development. I got a story about that too. But anyhow, when we would go Spanish Harlem, let's say, I had one guy with me who was from Cuba, and myself. We'd ask people about Pepsi and blah, blah. This guy lasted maybe an hour. Every store we went into, there was arguing. Store in this guy from Cuba. I said, I don't know why. Only to find out later on was the class situation. The Cubans didn't like the Puerto Ricans.
Wow, wow,
I
yes, yes, yes.
Matter of fact, the guy said, I'm going back. He said, it was about 9 o'clock. He said, I'm going to catch a 1 o'clock plane and going back to Cuba. Matter of fact, he was with a rich, he came from a rich family in Cuba. We found that out later.
Okay.
But it was just, every store we went into, we were talking. What was happening now?
Wow. So the stores were owned by Puerto Ricans, but it was a Cuban who was actually the sales rep?
Well, I never did forget out of Spanish Harlem.
Yeah.
And most times, it was probably Puerto Ricans.
And I think, growing up during that same time, that I would hear that Cubans just felt they were better than.
And no question, that's what
they were better than Puerto Ricans, and somehow, and even within the Latino, there's some classism going on there too.
I had no idea that, we would say black and white.
And we're trying to figure out what's going on there, but yeah, I get it.
One store we went to, the store had put a license plate in a dish with Pepsi Cola. Now I'll show you what I think about this Pepsi Cola stuff. The Pepsi Cola ate the license later. That's how strong Pepsi was.
Wow.
Yeah, he went to customers to see it. He was mad about something. He forgot what it was.
Wow.
What he was mad about.
Okay, let's hear a little bit about Cecil Moore, and then in a few.
And I didn't know who he was, but I heard about it, with the tasty cake and all that stuff.
Right.
So I said,
he was the engine behind all the boycotts that were happening in Philadelphia at the time.
Reverend Sullivan, I think, had something.
And Reverend Sullivan,
400 ministers, I believe it was.
Exactly. Okay.
So I said, Mr. Moore, and when I went into his office downtown, people was all around the wall, sitting on the floor and everything. They're waiting to see him.
Wow.
Now, to this day, I never gave a dime, so I think most of those folks that was in that office weren't paying either. So he said, all right, son, what do you want? What's going on? Now I'm standing up. He's sitting behind the desk. I said, well, Mr. Moore, I went to the preachers, and they said it was too hot to handle. I said, I lost my job because they think this white girl likes me. She's in one plant at 20, in the Northeast on the Boulevard, and I'm at 25th McKee. I never see her. I only talk to her on the phone. And when the guy fired me, I said, well, we think that she likes you, we fire both of you, which they did. So I said, to Mr. Moore, I don't want the black people down because I just got the job. And everybody was so proud to see me on the truck.
Right.
He said, well, I'll tell you. He said, okay, are you willing to fight? I said, yes, sir. He said, if you're willing to fight, sit down. Now I'm standing up. He's behind the desk. The couch is over here. Sit down, have a seat for a minute. But if you're not willing to fight, get out of my office right now.
Wow, that sounds
and
just like Cecil.
He said, get out of my office.
That
but he was
sounds
tough
like
in the ex-Marine. I found that out later.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened.
Wow.
Now, I just gotten the job at Pepsi Cola. I'm driving a brand new car. Matter of fact, we even had the car made up because I got to be making big money. Now, they told me at Pepsi Cola here in Philadelphia, if you sell one vending machine, have to get a location for one soda machine, vending Pepsi Cola, we'll give you $25. Now, I went up to the Pontiac dealer. He said, well, yeah, this car, I said, how much gas does this car get? I told him, the guy said, well, we'll hold it. If you got to worry about this, this ain't the car for you.
Wow.
He said, but if you do, it's going to cost you $100 a month. I said, wait a minute, $25 a week for a machine. All they do is if I sell 4 machines, I can pay for a car. Then I'm going to get a brand new car. So the plant manager called me and said, what are you doing out on City Avenue selling placing those machines? I said, I didn't think we stay in North Philly. We didn't want you to go out in the suburbs. But the way I would get the machines sold, because I said, now I got to sell 4 machines a month to pay with this new car I just got. I would tell the Jewish guy, oh, by the way, if we put a soda machine in your place, you can take the money out of the soda machine, pay for your grandson's education. It works every time. Okay, give us the machine. How quick can we get it?
Yeah.
So that's how it all happened.
Yeah. What
Now
did
it's
they
a
say?
brand new car, no job.
What's in it for them? Yeah.
For some unknown reason, I don't know why he didn't drive. I never did find out. But I started showing them around.
So with the new car, you have a job really as a chauffeur of sorts.
Yeah, you're right.
But for one of the most powerful men in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Seems
So
to
when
be
they
more.
fired me, he got involved. He called on the phone and said, I want you to give this guy's job back. And I don't want no rural, back in the woods stores. I want mainline stores for him. So they said, well, send him to New York. That's how it happened.
Wow.
Send him up to New York.
Let me ask you while we're in between, is that you're at Pepsi Cola. Were you still singing with the Dixie Hummingbirds?
Oh, yeah.
So
If
you're
you
singing
said
with the
because
Dixie
every
Hummingbirds. You're
weekend my
traveling
poor-
to New York every day.
My poor wife never saw. I've many times.
I think that's probably why it took a while for Cindy to get here.
Well, what happened was, sometimes I get out the group car on a Sunday night. And we leave on a Friday night to go south.
Okay.
Get a hotel.
Right.
Just relax for one day Saturday. On Sunday, got 2 programs.
Okay.
Always 50 miles apart or more. Now, drive all night, ride all night long. Our rules were you could only drive 2 hours at a time.
Okay.
By the time we got to Philadelphia, now I got to catch the 7 o'clock train to go to New York and go to work.
Oh, gosh.
I've gotten out of the group car. My wife would take me to North Philadelphia Station,
Wow.
and I go to work. Come home at night, eat dinner, go to bed, get back up, get back on the train. I did that 4 hours, maybe 2 hours, 2 hours up and 2 hours down. 4 hours a day for a long time.
Wow.
So the vice president of Pepsi Cola told me, Jake Duryea was his name. Joe, you're gonna have to get some peace in your life. You can't keep going back and forth like this.
Right.
I didn't sleep.
That's true, yeah.
So I said, all right, this Friday, this week I'll drive my car to New York.
Okay.
So I'll bring my wife with me because she was working then. We were going to the train station, I think, to pick her up.
Okay.
I got the car washed. We're going to go look for, I promised them, I said,
By the way, what kind of car was that?
a Pontiac. But it was a special built one. Convertible, deuce and a quarter Pontiac. It was just,
Wow.
people would say, man,
I've heard
where'd
deuce
you
and
get
a
this
quarter.
car from?"
I've
Matter of
heard that
fact,
in a while.
some of the people would tell me, boy, that was a sharp car you had. Now, the car, that's 4 years later, car that burned up, lost the car. They would never say a word to me while I had the car. But 4 years later, they would say, yeah, that was a sharp car you had.
How did your car get burned up?
I'm going to say now. So, by drive-through, what happened was the vice president of Pepsi Cola, he knew a lady in New York that had a room.
Okay.
He said, well, if you don't want to come on the train every day, you can stay at her house. She had, in New York, they got these called the burglar bars or something. It's an iron bar, sticks in the floor, in that door. You could never get in the door.
That's right.
I mean, it was terrible. In New York, they break it in your house and all that stuff.
Sure.
So my wife and I decided this week I'll drive the car. I'll meet her at the train station. We're going to look for an apartment.
Okay.
But before I looked at that for an apartment, a couple of times they put me up to Waldorf Astoria for a whole week, the Pepsi Cola did.
Oh, wow.
Because
Okay.
the big potato salad.
Well, give me a time frame here. Is it 63, 64, something like
64.
that? 64. Okay.
64. Because the reason why I know it really was 63 and 64. The car was a 1964 Pontiac.
Wow, that was a
But
popular
you
year.
always go to
Yeah.
you get a car like a 63, You get to, when the 64 comes out.
Sure.
So that particular day, I said, after on a Friday, I'll go get the car washed, then pick up my wife and go look for an apartment.
Okay.
So I went to the car wash, put the top down, and went to the plant. Now, I'm an executive, but I'm working at the plant because Pepsi Cola's on strike. So I really wasn't really working. We was just going to work. We go all day long. We wouldn't do much in there, have meetings, board meetings, all that stuff.
Okay.
So I parked the car. Normally, I would park my car up on the roof of the plant because the Pepsi was on strike and fearing somebody messing with the car.
Right.
But this day, I had to pick my wife up in the evening time, so at 4 o'clock, 4 or 5, the train got in. I said, I'll run into the plant, see if I had any phone calls, and go pick my wife up. We go look for an apartment. So I went in the plant. The secretary came running out screaming, "Joe, the car's on fire." I had just gotten out of the car. But I remember now hearing something tick, tick, something clicking like a I remember that now. I met him in my imagination. When I walked outside, that car was blazing.
Wow.
The steering wheel even melted. My wife, we got pictures of it somewhere. Frame melted, everything just melted. And in about 20 minutes time, our car disintegrated. So they must have threw some type of incinerator bomb in the car or something, you know. So now, my poor wife was at the train station waiting on me to come get her. A cop was on the corner. I walked up to the corner. I said, "Officer, somebody burned my car." He said, "Son, in New York you don't see anything."
Wow. So nobody saw anything.
That's right. Not in New York.
No insurance is going to recoup something that nobody saw anything happen, right?
Because it was so bad. Coca-Cola was on. We were on strike. We were on strike. Coke was trying to still hold on to it. They had guys going around with ice picks, punching holes in the sodas so they could go flat.
Oh my!
All the Pepsi Cola, they didn't want Pepsi. It was serious.
This is I would.
This could be a movie.
It could be. So after the car got burned up, and we still don't know who set the fire, the police said you don't see things in New York.
Right.
And you still have your wife to pick up.
Yeah. So we decided that's it. We're going back and forth.
Yeah, the back and forth is
sleep.
just, that was the
Now,
defining moment there.
I got out the car, got out the group car, got on the train. So we had my shoes shine at the Teresa Hotel. That's what Fidel Castro stayed there.
Okay.
With
Wow.
chickens and all that stuff.
Yeah, I remember he bought his chickens on a truck.
Yeah, that's right.
He wasn't going to eat American food.
So the guy shining my shoes said, what you do for the weekend? He's looking up at me. I'm on the stand.
Right.
He's looking up at me. I said, "Oh yeah, we were in North Carolina, man. I just got home." He said, "That's what you really want to do, isn't it?" When he said that to me, it was like somebody slapped me across the face. Bam!
Yep.
He's right. I ain't gonna fool with this Pepsi Cola stuff.
Right.
People don't need me to tell them what kind of soda to drink. I went into the office that morning and said, "I resign. I quit."
Okay.
Gave him 2 weeks' notice.
Wow. Better half of Reverend Joe, Miss Laverne, Mama Laverne, however you answer, I will always call you.
God bless you.
And when you sing, I cry. I don't know why, but I did. It's been like that since the first time I heard you sing. I had no idea that you had talent that matched someone else in the family. So we're going to find out who met who first. How did you do this? Did
She's the
you
one who suffered through all these stories I told.
really?
All the drama stories, all the
Yes, all the drama.
yeah.
Trauma and drama, right? Did you worry about him when he was on the road? I know you had to.
But we talked all the time.
Okay.
You know, we talked every day, and when he
Once
was
I got where I was
away,
going, always that was a rule.
Okay.
Always called.
So where did you meet her? Where did you meet him? I'll let him go first. Where did you meet
I met
her?
her with one of the fellows that was singing with me.
Okay.
Father had a church in Tioga. Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Okay.
And we rehearsed at the church on the second floor. They lived I think they lived at the church on the second floor. I'm not sure.
Is that
That's what
right?
we
No,
rehearsed.
no. When I graduated high school,
Okay. And you went to high school in Philadelphia?
no.
No, you didn't.
I did not.
You're not from the area.
Yes,
You're an immigrant.
After my brother, which was the oldest of 5 siblings, was in World War II, and his best friend lived in Philadelphia. And that's how we got to Philadelphia. When we relocated, my brother, his best friend sent for my brother,
Oh, okay.
which was the oldest of 5 siblings.
Okay.
And we started, if you went out my middle sister's back door, across the street and up the steps, was Greater Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Oh, that's why he thinks you lived there.
And I was friends with the pastor's daughter,
Okay.
and Joe was friends with the pastor's son. And at that time, I thought he was coming. All we did at home was go to church.
Okay.
This is 1958, right?
This was 1958.
Wow.
Because we always went to church. And if you went out of my middle sister's back door, across the street, up the steps, we started going to that church.
Oh, okay.
I was friends with Gloria. He was friends with the son.
Okay.
And I thought he was coming to see his friend. But I later learned he was coming to see me.
Oh.
I think what happened was I was still in the Marine Corps when I first met her.
Okay.
Because I went to a program, I don't know who's giving that program. They were on a program at that church. I remember up on the second floor. And I said, what in the world is this? She got gloves on, kind of. You know. So she asked her sister, what about that little guy? So the sister asked her, said, that little guy, the cute little guy, why didn't you say something to him? He talked too much for me.
That was back then. And today you would say.
And he's still doing the same thing.
He's still talking too much.
He's still doing the same thing.
Wow.
But that's how we met at Greater Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Okay. And you stayed engaged for 2 years before you got married.
2 years engaged, right?
And you got married in the month of
June.
June? A
11th.
June wedding?
This
Yeah, oh yeah.
past June 11th, we were married 64 years.
Wow. To the same person. You have Sydney.
After 8 years of marriage.
Okay. 8 years of marriage, and now you finally have a
And
child.
I would never, in fact, I was told I'd never have children.
The doctor
Wow.
told us you
And I went to the doctor, he said, I have good news. You are pregnant. I said, what? He ran out the office.
Wow.
And I think he must have realized I left her in there. He
Right.
came back and grabbed me, and they said, where are you going? He said, I have to get cigars. They said, it's too soon. You don't buy them now. You do it after
Okay.
the child is born.
So he's been a proud papa for a long time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
God blessed us with a beautiful daughter.
Oh, wow.
And she married a beautiful
yeah.
man, and
Oh, gosh.
he treats us just like we were his parents.
And she's
I love
very,
him, and
very
he loves
attentive,
us,
which means
yes.
that you all were very, very attentive to
We
her.
lost a son.
And yes,
but
tell us
God
that that's
gave us a
the,
son.
What
yeah.
happened was the doctor said you never had children. We moved into the Washington Lane apartments from one room. Got married. We were in efficiency. We called it.
Yeah.
You know, everything was in one room.
Mm-hmm.
So after she found out she was pregnant, I said to myself, well, better move before the baby comes. Because
The apartment didn't allow children in the
Wow.
Washington Lane apartment.
Whoa.
And he rode through our street and he said, Dave, they're building houses around the corner. And I said, they are, and he took me around.
Yeah.
We didn't even tour the house. He lifted me up so, you know, the front door used to have the 3 panes. of
Right,
window,
right,
you know.
right.
And that Monday, he was working for Sears. They lied and said he had been working there longer than he had been, and we bought that house.
Just
So that's
get a
how
mortgage.
I know how long we've been in our house. 57 years, because December the 5th, she was 57 years old.
Well, yeah, that's
We had a son, and he was premature, and at Women's Medical. And just recently, someone said, "What does the death certificate say?" I said, "What do you mean?" And I had never.
Matter of fact, we was having lunch with the nurse, the lady with the dog.
yes, yes,
And,
yes,
and
Vanessa.
they broke his femur while he was in the hospital. And the death certificate said premature birth.
Oh my God.
We didn't know that.
And
your
I
friend
just
said that.
realized
And
that.
this,
I mean, you know, you don't look at, you're upset.
right, you're already
not
upset.
looking at the
Yeah,
death
exactly.
certificate, but in intensive care nursery, the nurses are on like 4 days off 3, and
Sure.
then they switch up. I went to the hospital every day, never missed going to the hospital. And then in the evening, we would go, the 3 of us, Joe and our daughter Cindy, and, you know, would go. And one day I went in and I walked in with the nurse, and the nurse said, that she had been off for 4 days. She said, "Oh, Joe is getting so big." She said, "You don't see it." She said, "'Cause you come every day." But, and as she said that, I said, "But look, there's a bruise on his thigh. And look at his ankle." And as I was telling her this, her fingers were just going. She was examining. And she said, "Oh, go home, everything is fine."
He was 5 months old, right?
And when
He stayed in the hospital that long?
Oh, yeah, you had to be
He
5
was-
months old before you go home.
Really?
And
Okay, that's new information.
I would go to in the intensive care nursery, and I would say, "The incubator is off." "No, it's not." I said, "Here's the plug." I would reach down and show them the plug. And then when the nurse said he had gained so much weight, and I said, "Look, there's a bruise on his leg." She was examining, and she said, "Go home and everything is fine." Before I could get home, they called and said
turn around and go
that
back.
his femur was broken. They broke his femur while he was in the hospital, but that was not on the death certificate. And they
Yeah.
took, a nurse went in the trash, and the doctors had said they had never treated a baby that small, so they put a spica cast on him.
What is that?
And, you know, up under,
Oh,
and it
okay.
goes all the way down.
Oh,
to you.
oh, okay.
And I said, "Why would a baby need this?"
Who's not
And
ambulatory?
they said, "Are you a doctor?" I said, "No, I'm not a doctor, but take it off."
Mm.
She went in the trash and got the cast and gave it to me. I have it to this day.
Do you really?
I have
You
it to
got
this
this,
day.
Matter of fact,
Really? Oh,
when we got off the elevator, you could hear him screaming from this room, from the intensive care all the way to the elevator.
Mm.
And every night when it got out, I went there 3 times a day myself.
How did this affect Sydney?
You
I
know
mean,
what?
she's 12 years old, you know? Like,
He never
this,
talks about it.
isn't that something? And I'm sure,
Oh, I know what she said.
or at that age, I'm sure she remembers something.
Oh,
Having
yeah,
going
yeah.
to the
But
hospital,
guess what she
then I
said?
had a brother.
And we would go.
On the way home, after they said Joey was bad last night. She was messing with us. I said, "Stop. He was dead then. That's what happened when they called me." So on the way home, either on the way going there, say, "Hey, Dad, do we have to pay the hospital? Joey died. Do we still have to pay the hospital?
Oh, dog.
Remember that?
So she's been very introspective early on in life, too. Right? She was a businesswoman even then. It's like, well, look.
She wouldn't do it for so long. She had to,
Well.
you know. But that, I remember her saying, do we have to still pay the hospital?
Do you still have to pay the hospital,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though he's not coming home? My goodness.
That's,
That we're only
years
seeing it
later.
now. Which is why your story should be told. Because someone else needs to hear that. Someone else is going to need to hear that story. Someone who went into the hospital to bring a child home and never got to bring the child home. Or
Exactly.
a husband who went to go celebrate the birth of his child, son, daughter, but his wife's not coming home. So
and I didn't know
things do happen, and
he
I
was
think,
going to the hospital in the morning before he went to work.
wow.
And then
Oh,
we
you
would
were
go,
stopping by to see him before you went to, oh, poo. Oh, poo.
Yeah, it's a, no.
Those were the
Yeah, he's watching you now, and
That smile,
smiled.
that
Yep.
smile he had,
Oh,
Joey, can Cindy go to camp? The way he smiled, man, like saying, yes, okay.
you let her go to camp.
Yeah, because she wanted to go to camp.
Oh, wow.
He was something. I mean, those nurses would come down and see this little guy. I even had clothes made for him with his initials on.
Stop. Oh, you're one of them? Oh my God. I mean, I remember the little beaded bracelets they would come home with their names already on them. And
No, clothes. She got them clothes somewhere.
I still have everything.
And with his clothes.
wow. Oh,
This is
wow.
on his clothes. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I guess
wow.
the Lord said, well, this little boy, we better get him out of here because he's going to be.
Listen,
Joey
this-
Williams III. Joey Williams III.
Joey Williams III. Joey, wherever you are out there.
Yes, yeah. He made an impact.
Well, so you've gone through difficult times together.
Yeah.
It's, how do you see Sydney carrying on the legacy for you guys?
First of all, she don't want to do with no preaching, none of that stuff.
All right, so she's not in the ministry.
No.
She has her own ministry and has her own business. And she's doing well with her husband and her business. And wants you back with her now. I heard. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there, but I heard that she wants you all back with her.
And if we would do what she said, we would have been there.
I'm going to stop you right there. She came here was it last year, year before last? And she talked about how she cried because she didn't want to come back to Philly. She wanted to stay in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And
they
now,
have a place. They already have a place. When they
Staked out.
relocated to Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
they bought an Airbnb.
okay.
So I already had my place. Shaka's mother, my son,
Oh,
my
yeah.
other son,
Right.
already has a place for his mother.
Well, and see,
So-
that what I'm thinking is that when she told the story about not wanting and crying because she didn't want to come back to Philadelphia, but she did come back.
Yeah.
She opened up a business. She had several jobs while she was here, and
She
made her.
worked at 3 radio stations at the same time. She was on 3 different radio stations.
Well, in this mission that you've been on with Reverend Joe, looking back, what brings you the most pride?
Cindy,
Cindy, yeah.
I'm
And
so proud of her. I call her every day.
do you now?
And when she was in school, the phone would ring,
In the hallway.
and the kids would say, "Cindy, your dad's," before they even answered the phone.
The end of this session, but I don't think we're not done yet. We're never really done. There's so much more to tell. I want to tell folks that one of the things that I recognize about both of you is that your giving spirit, not just to the church, but also for the community, has always, it seems to permeate in everyone that I talk to when I mention Reverend Joe and Mama LeBron. And it's like, oh, Turn them back.
So we never got paid.
But you never got paid.
Never,
He never took us out.
Never,
never took us out. And
that's rather cavalier
Oh,
these times, you know, people take us
Yeah, I
out.
already had a job.
Oh, okay.
I was real in the deal, take the church on a trip, no one had to buy a ticket. I paid it out.
We said we would never do that.
Really?
Never came to church and
Never
purchased anything.
sold the first.
I had coffee, we would have coffee with Jesus. And every Sunday morning, they would say, you don't have to pay for this. We never sold anything.
No,
Every dinner that we had,
right.
never sold anything.
Wow. That's unheard of. But then you two are unheard of. This is the unsung story of two people who have dedicated their life to the community and
And
to
we cleaned the
service.
church, you know, that one lady, the bishop, that she did now. She came one Wednesday, she said, I never seen people clean the church and be so happy like you guys are. What in the world?
And after we would clean the church,
We eat
we'd take everyone in there.
at lunch, after whatever.
Lunch, after we cleaned the church.
That's amazing.
And they were just loyal,
We
wonderful.
had, because one of these said, Fred, let's just clean the church, there's nothing clean to it.
Right, right. And that's not because she wanted the free lunch. And I would think that is not why she
But we would
did.
have the best time.
We had a lot of fun doing that.
And then, key word, the operative word, there was fun. You had fun
And
doing
then one
it.
thing they, from the community, from her church, old church.
It is.
Oh, he couldn't get over it. He
Yeah.
said, I went in the bathroom. He said, you could eat off the floor.
Well,
We just
you-
loved our little building.
And because you permeate that, because you exude that, other people see it, it becomes contagious. Of course, pick up the trash, take out the trash, clean the bathroom, wipe off the tables. I mean, if you're working, we're working. And that's pretty much how it is, you know, and that's what you've taught people to do.
And we had
you know.
such loyal people. Mrs. Askin.
Yes, I can
Susan
remember her.
Arnold. Oh, you
Yeah,
could
yes,
just
yes.
go down the list and name the names, and so many people involved.
And those are the folks who I really want to make sure that they get to see what we've done here today.
Amen.
And to recognize you for it, not just, it wasn't just the Dixie Hummingbirds. You initiated that plaque on College Avenue.
Yeah.
And Mr. Davis, we just loved him. He loved us.
And so, but you made that, I was there the day of that dedication. I was there,
And I
Mayor
even,
Kenny was there.
I even raised the money to get a tombstone for the store.
And the tombstone for the sister was at a Thorpe, and there was a dedication for her there.
Yeah, I was on TV that night.
Yeah, exactly. So you have been giving, and I know while you wouldn't take a salary, you've been paid. And hopefully it's being paid through things that we try to do. God has got, that's the employer, that's the real employer, right? I know it's not a rest, it's just a change of venue.
Amen.
And while it's not a physical church
Turn the
anymore,
page.
we just turn the page and go to the next chapter. In fact, I even tell people who think they retired, I said, you know, now the retirement means stop doing that, do this.
Do that, yeah.
You know, so and I think that's what you all have done. And so, from humble beginnings to a national stage, and from time in the military and now the ministry,
Yeah.
you have had a very full life. And so, the real testament to that is your resilience. The common man, what is it? Walk with
If
kings
it's
and
been
live with beggars and still carry the common touch.
Because they were the only people that would accept me. The churches, we don't want that guy, you got the convicts following him, the street people following him. Would you go to school in trouble?
Yeah.
And I was on the bridge, I was so comfortable with preaching everything. They went, see you next week, Rev. You gotta come back, we need you.
Isn't that amazing? You certainly have given of yourself more than you probably even needed to, but
minister that,
Peace.
Reverend Peace, the minister.
Yeah. Lena.
Oh,
You had a
yes.
couple
Reverend
of
Lamb loved him, like he was a son.
And so,
Yeah.
like I said, we walk with kings and eat with beggars and still carry the common touch. And so, with that being said, Reverend Joe, if you would finish us out. How do we usually end these sessions?
Well, I was in the hotel room one time in North Carolina, Dixie Hummingbirds. And I asked the guy, the guy was, he was a preacher. Man, it's 5 different churches in this one block. You don't have one big prayer meeting, so he said, man, you guys don't even speak to each other. And then I said, well, when you can't, God can. When you won't, God will. That's how it's going to come.